Hi everybody, it's Rick DiClemente with Astrology Unplugged. We're somewhere in our 80s tonight. I think it's our 86th episode. Nice to have you with us in case you want to join us live on Thursday nights. I know many of you are watching on YouTube. You can find us on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock Eastern. It lasts for about 90 minutes, and the way to find it, the link is to go to my website at starself.com/unplugged. So if you go to starself.com/unplugged, you will see the link and you'll be able to join us live on Thursday nights. You do not have to be an advanced astrologer. It's for general talk. Now, before I get started with tonight's topic, which is the sixth harmonic, I want to mention something about last week and some things that have been not working the way that I want them, and I think I've come up with a good solution. I really don't want this show to be someone's on and they read for everybody. Someone's on and they read for everybody. You can find that stuff everywhere, anywhere. This show is about interviewing the guest. I think you have all learned a lot about what an astrologer does and sees. And when we have these other guests on, I want to know what they think, how they tick, what they do, what do they think. And it's real good to have 38 people last week, but he was a champion, Reverend Ray Keene, the medium, reading for 38 people, but it just really is too much. So I've come up with a simple lot with your name on it. With your name on it, I'll be pulling from the lots to see who will get a reading. Tonight I will be doing some readings for some people about their sixth harmonic, but I really don't want the pressure on me to do everybody. Here's the reason why. Let's say I'm reading Mark's sixth harmonic. Let's say I'm reading for 40 minutes. 10 minutes of those 40, I'll be talking about Mark's life. The other 30 minutes, I'm talking in general, because I'm always trying to teach the broad perspective of the planets and what they do. Certainly, if any of you get into a topic and you feel like you really got a crisis and you really need to be number one, for every reason that there is, did you raise your hand? For any of you that are having a crisis on the particular subject, I will certainly put you up. Number one, we will do everything we can to help you. But in general, what I'm trying to say is we're going to pull lots to see who gets read for, because that's what this show is about. It's about educating you. Because why? Because this earth is in a lot of trouble. And maybe you don't want to turn out to be an astrologer, because it really is a rarity. But the more you learn about astrology, the more it's going to help you in any field that you're in, even bridge building. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk a lot about the sixth harmonic tonight. And the reason why is the sixth harmonic is one of two harmonics that I use heavily. First of all, what's a harmonic? Well, I use the harmonics differently than they were originally intended. And through lots of experiment, lots and lots and lots of experimentation, they have proven to be really, really accurate. What a harmonic is, it's just like on a guitar string. When you take the guitar string and you come up halfway and press it down, you've got a different harmonic that's half as long as the whole harmonic. So you could do a harmonic on any number. And what happens with a harmonic like the number 6 is you take the position of the planet, you multiply it times 6, and you put it back on the circle. So for instance, if you've got a planet at 2 degrees of Aries, that is the 2nd degree of the zodiac. To take the 6th harmonic of that particular planet, you multiply 6 times 2. That planet is now at the 12th degree of the zodiac, which happens to be 12 of Aries. The computer does it very fast. It does all the planets. It recalibrates everything. And I'm told by a lot of really fine, good harmonic people that you can't use it with transits. You can't use it with comparison. You can't use it for analysis in the houses. You can't use it for this and that. Bullpucky. is what I have found. As a matter of fact, now I can't even foresee doing a chart without doing the birth chart, the 12th harmonic, and the 6th. The harmonic numbers have a meaning, as you numerologists know. The number 6 pertains to the 6th sign of the zodiac, which is Virgo. The 12th is the one I use the most. It's the most important. That pertains to the 12th sign of the zodiac, which is Pisces. What I have found with the 12th, and I found that the odd number ones are rather useless, and I find if I use any of them, I use the even number ones. I use the birth chart and I go to the 12th harmonic. The 12th harmonic is the spiritual transcript. Since it's the Pisces one, everything's multiplied by 12 and put back on the circle. And what that has shown me, by comparison, by transits too, by looking at it and studying it, it has shown me that the 12th harmonic tells me what your difficulties and talents were in your past life and why you set up your birth chart to be the way it is now. If you see an astrologer trying to get the whole story from the birth chart, then I suggest to you they're doing a lot of straining and all the information is not there. So I do a lot of work with the 12th to find out why the birth chart is the first harmonic. That's what it is. Multiply everything by 1. 12th birth, 12th birth, 12th birth. It explains to me clearly through trial and error why you're here, why your tests are the way they are, why your trials are the way they are, when they come about, what they're really including. The 6th harmonic, since I have gone out on a limb, and many astrologers have too, since 6 is the Virgo harmonic, I believe very strongly that Virgos are ruled by Chiron. Now, I do not throw a baby into the bathwater. I do not throw away the old-time pairing of Mercury being the ruler of Virgo. I still see some truth there. But it's obvious to me that if you had to make a one-to-one correspondence, Mercury is the ruler of Gemini and always will be. But when I really look at the nature, the more and more I study Chiron, the more and more I study its nature and what he's about, it matches with Virgo. Here's why. Chiron has 2 sides of its tail. One side is very prominent. He's called the hero's journey. And Chiron was, for those of you who don't know, he was a centaur, part horse, part human being. He resides between Saturn and Uranus with all the other centaurs. So he's not an asteroid, because the asteroids are between Mars and Jupiter. So he's in a ring, one ring out further. And the centaurs, when he first came about and was given the centaur diagram or the animal, people tried to match his nature with the sign of Sagittarius. And it just doesn't match. Forget it. It just doesn't match. Maybe Sag is part horse, part human also, fine. But it doesn't match Chiron. Chiron, the centaurs are a rather wild bunch. It just so happens that Chiron was the most sophisticated of all of them. He was the son of a great king, a great planet. And he was called in, he was the first astrologer. He was called in to break up a party of a bunch of drunken centaurs in mythology. He was called in to break up the party. And in the midst of the chaos, he got shot by a stray arrow from the bow of Hercules. And it gave him a wound in the back of his leg. And since he was immortal, he was never going to die, and his leg would never heal, and he was going to have to suffer forever with this wound. So one half of the myth of Chiron is very much about your wound that won't heal. The wounded healer is his nickname. the wounded healer. And a lot of Chiron authors and a lot of people who study Chiron focus on your wound is this kind of wound and it won't heal. Now, in reality, what he did is he couldn't stand it anymore. He prayed to Zeus to allow himself to be mortal and to allow himself to die. And Zeus permitted it, and Zeus put his constellation up in the sky and allowed him to die. But what is overlooked, and this is what I'm drawn to, the other side of Chiron is your hero's journey. This obsession of doing what I gotta do. That's another part of Virgo. Virgo's about the wound and the healing, or better yet with Virgo, the wound and the fixing. In the Chiron hero's journey. And I can't tell you in the last 5 years how many obsessive Virgos have come to see me because they want to be on their journey. They want to be on the correct journey. I believe it's knowable. I believe it's not easy. I believe that through deeper study, I have found that what the Virgo women, most of my readings are Virgo women, what the Virgo women are really talking about, because remember, Virgos are obsessed with doing what they should. They're obsessed doing what they should. Other people aren't, they are. I have found them having great success, and I really think that what it means is the Virgo women are trying to get in touch with the will of the goddess. I'm not going to argue about it. You may know more than I, but I'm so sure of myself on this case. This is what I'm following. And as soon as it started happening, as soon as it started manifesting, look what happened. Eris came out, and now everybody's obsessed with their journey. And now we see this humongous, fanatical, divine feminine rebirth. Thank God. And the patriarch is threatened. Thank God. So anyhow, when I look at the sixth harmonic, so you might have a planet at 3 degrees of Aries. In your sixth harmonic, that planet would be at 18 degrees of Aries, etc. You go all the way around the circle. The sixth harmonic is very crystal clear. It shows me what you should be doing. It's not real black and white. It's not like an aptitude test. It's not that simple. Astrology doesn't reveal her secrets that easily. But what I have noticed, around age 51 is usually the turning point. Excuse me. Who is the politician that snuck off the air quietly to get a drink of water, came back? I'm just going to be out front about it. Oh, yeah, that was the guy in Florida. That was very comical. Okay. '51, the reason why it's 51 is Chiron takes 51 years to go around the circle. And when Chiron returns, it's usually a big deal. Look at your life when you were 51. Look at 50, look at 51, look at 52. Okay? Chiron is not the past life. The past life is 12. We're not going to get into 12. By the way, if you type me a chat message, I usually don't have time to read it or answer. Okay. If you want to say chat messages to each other, that's all fine. Now, Chiron has a very weird orbit. That's why you can't say that half of my Chiron orbit, well, 25 and a half years, is halfway and should match up with other people, because it doesn't. It's just a really elliptical orbit. But it does return for everybody around the age of 51. And a lot of people do not have a picnic at 51. And that's because they have not settled their wound. For instance, a lot of people today have Chiron in Pisces. and a lot of the ones turning 51 in the past 6-7 years have had Chiron in Pisces. And their wound has been a Piscean wound. Not enough faith in God. I talk to God who doesn't answer me. The people before that have had Chiron in Aquarius. Not enough of a sense of individuality. I go around, nobody recognizes me. Nobody gives me any faith in me. They don't give me any attention. Well, what happens is you get Chiron pain, the wound turns into your gift, and at age 51 you realize it's not the other people that aren't noticing you, it's you. So many, many times the Chiron wound turns into your gift. And usually it's because you've got to project it outward and then it becomes inward. Okay? Like I said, a lot of people now have had this Chiron at Pisces. They've carried it 51 years. I talk to God. I pray. I never get my prayers answered. And a lot of what's happening to those people now is they're realizing, well, I'm the one that's not been listening. So it often turns into a gift. I had open heart surgery when I was 51. My Chiron was in Capricorn. I was too closed. I didn't want to open up. So the doctors opened it up for me. Literally. I don't wish that on anybody. But not everybody has a crisis during that time. So what I'm also finding now is we're in a very advanced age now with the indigo kids and with all the special kids being born. I'm seeing kids launch their sixth harmonic chart when they're 35, when they're 31, when they're 42. Usually your sixth harmonic chart talks about your promise, talks about your destiny, but it lays there and waits. It's not ready to be launched yet. Planets go over a trigger and nothing happens. Well, the reason nothing happens, reason is that you have not matured yet. In most cases, the reason, when I see somebody having trouble, and I look on their birth chart, and the birth chart looks okay to me, they shouldn't be having this much trouble, the first thing I do is I go right to the sixth harmonic. Because the sixth harmonic tells me, well, they're doing okay in this incarnation, but they're not getting in touch with their hero's journey. They're not on the right horse. Usually that's because the person has not solved and brought to closure the issues of the 12th harmonic. The 12th harmonic by far, in my opinion, I'll go on the record, is the most important chart you have beside the natal chart. And it might even be more important than the natal chart because it is your spiritual history. It shows what you've really been like, what your history been like through your lifetimes, trying to get back to God. How do you label the issues? So many times when I see somebody who's 54, who's 60, and they're still not getting with it, I go to the 12th harmonic and I see they still got chains around their ankles. They still got past life issues they have not settled. And many, many times I see people with a 12th harmonic and they're settling these issues. They're coming to terms with these things. And they get excited. And what do you know? Their sixth harmonic launches. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Fabulous. So I've got you all in a, I've got you all listed in a, pull your name out of a hat. I don't have Deborah in there. How can I do that? Let me make sure I get Deborah in here. And we'll go to town. All right. Again, the reason I'm doing this is I don't want to get into trying to do readings for everybody. It's just not reasonable. So I'm going to pull one out of the hat, and it says M-A-R-K, Mr. Mark. Unless you don't want me to do it, all you got to do is do it like that if you don't want me to. Mark is now unmuted himself. We're going to look at Mark's Sixth harmonic. Then you'll start to see how this works. It's unbelievable. Plus, it's the chart of your health. It's the chart of your health since it's the Virgo chart. That chart was hit by Saturn when I had open heart surgery. Saturn hit that point directly. Boing. Okay. Sixth harmonic. Let's take a look. Okay, here's Mark's charts. And I will stop sharing. I will take his chart. And I will do his sixth harmonic. And I do harmonic, and I'll pick 6. And there it is. Okay. This is his sixth harmonic. You'll notice he's in Aries in his natal chart, but in the sixth harmonic, he's a Virgo. Okay, the energies are very different in the sixth harmonic. He is definitely past the 51st year. So is his sixth harmonic active or not? When you start to feel that you're in sync with your mission, that this is really what I need to do, this is it, that's when you're in sync with this chart. Now, let's see, it's a really pretty widespread chart. And for us to understand it properly, let's go back and take a look at the birth chart. The birth chart has the sun in Aries opposite Neptune. So we see that he has a very spiritually based life, just because the Aries sun, which is usually the farthest thing from spirit, but it's directly opposite Neptune. He has a very strong spiritual interest, but he's not doing it in a conservative, lazy, programmable way, because he got a T-square to Uranus. This is a massive T-square. Angle, angle, angle. Sun in Aries, Venus in Aries, Neptune in Scorpio, Uranus in Leo. You almost don't have to look at anything else. That's how important this T-square is. Sun, Venus, Neptune, T-square to Uranus and Leo. Now, you would not know this by talking to Mark, but with an amplified Uranus and Leo, he should be very talkative and very expressive and hands everywhere. And you talk to him and he's very sedated, he's very subdued. And that's because the sun is opposite Neptune. And Neptune wants him calmer. But I'm not dumb. I know what's real is in the chart. I don't care what his body's doing. So we got to figure out, why does Mark have this tremendous spiritual inside with this great need to express it in really innovative ways? And the 12th harmonic would show me why. But we're not going to look at that now. We're going to go right to the 6th harmonic and say, with these energies, what's his real mission? And Mark works in the IT world, correct? Okay. And how long have you been there?
20 plus years.
20 how many?
Oh, probably about 27, 28. I've lost count.
Oh, 27, 28, I've lost count. So why am I reacting that way? Saturn return, right. He's coming into the Saturn return of that issue. Does not mean he has to quit. It does mean that since it's 28th year, you're coming to a natural ending. It's going to allow you to leave effortlessly if you want to. You won't have to fight it. But you can stay for another 28 if you want. But the likelihood with such strong spiritual interest, the likelihood is you're going to get out. And you're going to head towards something more spiritually based. Okay. So now in the Okay. Here's the 6th harmonic. All right. Notice in the 6th harmonic, The birth chart had Uranus in Leo over here. This time he's got Uranus in Aries. He's still intent. When you have a strong Uranus, you want to do things your way. And how do you think that resounds with an Aries? They have no problem with that. Aries have everything to do with doing it my way. Okay, but the Neptune in this birth chart is not real excited about that doing it my way because it's always hypersensitive about stepping on somebody's toes. When I talk about innovative way, what I'm saying is usually people who have really inspired sixth harmonic have one of two types. They have one where they're real innovative, or one where they want to continue in the same kind of work but revolutionize it. What do we see here? We see Sun, Venus, Pluto in Virgo. This is the creative house, opposite the moon. The moon is at 5, so the full moon is very pretty clear. We have a T-square between Chiron and Mercury over to Neptune in the 6th. Neptune in the 6th, which is the Virgo house, which is a house of service, means that Mark's working very hard. It's clear to me. He's one of the rare ones. He's very clear that he wants to do the Mark Aries manifestation at the same time merge with God's will. He wants to do them both. And that's not typical for Aries people. But he's got them both down. And that tells me he's an old soul. It doesn't matter what his sun sign is. But he wants to do his thing, realizing his thing is the same as God's thing anyway. Does that make any sense, Mark?
Sure.
Okay. A lot of times the Aries would say, no, it doesn't make any sense. But we're on track. All right. So one of the other ways that we're going to find out if this is accurate is we're talking about it. It's got to be inspired right now. It's got to be hit by planets. And just several hours ago, we just had a new moon at 23 Gemini. Hello. We just had a new moon a few minutes ago at 23 Gemini. On your Saturn, on the cusp of the 3rd house. The new moon is Sun and Moon are here. On your Saturn, on your Gemini, on the cusp of the 3rd house. Remember, the cusp of the house is the most important part of the house. Now, the 3rd house is known in astrology as cars and brothers and sisters and ideas and thoughts, small errands, small pets. But in reality, what it really is your mind. How does your mind work? Is it time for a software update? Well, here you have a new moon in Gemini on your 3rd harmonic. So what I'm saying to you is this. This long-term, long-forming hero's journey that's becoming more and more ready to be launched, it's definitely time to launch it because you're getting freed from your Earth chart. You're getting freed from your down-to-earth chart because of the Saturn return. Doesn't mean you have to, but usually a Saturn return, in most cases, I've been there, done it, I've done it, let me do something else. But what it's saying to you, in order to make the shift from what you've been doing to what you're going to need to do, what's happening? You need to take the lid off your program. The new moon is on the Saturn, which is the lid, on the 3rd house. So you need to stop the presses, unscrew the lid. Let's take a real healthy look down through all of Mark's software. What's he been running? Oh, let's clean that fan up. Let's clean this program up. Let's replace this chip. So what's happening is I think you're becoming aware of what you need to do. I think the old stuff is not going to bug you so much. And we could look in the 12th harmonic to see that. But we're seeing that before you go out on this new quest, you've got to replace your software. Keeping in mind here that we're about to run into Mars retrograde for months. A weird time. It happens every 2 years. And Mars retrograde is always, I'm ready to go. Oh, stop. Let's get things right. Mars rules what sign? Aries. You. Mars retrograde in about 11 days. I've seen it so many times. It's like, I'm ready to go, doggone it. What's wrong with the tools are dull? The tools are dull. So you mean I got to stay behind for a couple months and sharpen my tool? Yeah. Yeah, that's what you got to do. And it's just going to help you because while you're sitting there on that grinding stone, getting that tool sharper, you're getting smarter. You're not going to be in a hurry. And one of the biggest problems with Aries is what? Impatience. They want everything right now. So we're seeing what's happening. You're ready to shift. You're ready to go for your new gear, but you're going to have to redo your tools for a while. Now, since the third house is involved, the third house is the house when people say to you, Karen DeBerry, I want to write a book. So don't be shocked if Mr. Mark wants to write a book all of a sudden. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if in fact he's going to write a book, the book will be very Saturnian. He's nature's Mars, but Saturn's sitting on a third house now. Saturn is all about, you got to get your mind orderly. You got to get your mind orderly. Remember, Saturn wants to make sure it gets done. How? Through making it orderly. So I'll guarantee you that all that revolutionary spirit that you have, with all that Uranus, I don't care what it is, that if you're thinking of writing a book, the book's going to be about telling people how to get their mind orderly before they attack the problem. Now, what were you thinking of doing?
I've had several book ideas. Probably the one that's been the most prominent, though, is a book about stewardship.
Okay.
Because my feeling is that we've kind of lost our way with poor stewardship over the last 100 years or so.
Very good topic, yes. I mean, if stewardship is not Saturnian, I don't know what it is. Stewardship of what?
Stewardship of us, stewardship of planet Earth.
Okay, very good and broad. Okay, and the Saturn is what's causing it. Let's go back to your chart. I think that's well put. Now, we're going to the sixth harmonic again. All right. Now, when you're talking about stewardship of Earth, what you're going to have to look for are Aquarian type things. That's an Aquarian theme, a Uranus Aquarian theme. Here we see the moon in the 11th house. Here we see the Jupiter in Aquarius. Here we see the Uranus strong. These are three very strong symbols of Aquarian energy. Again, the Jupiter is in Aquarius. The moon is in the 11th house. The 11th house is the Aquarian house. Here's Uranus itself in the sign of Aries trying to launch. Here we see the T-squared to Neptune, which means he wants to do it for service and love of mankind. And what's behind all this stuff, yeah, there's a very strong Mars, but what's behind this whole effort is a very powerful Virgo thing here. A very powerful Virgo stellium, which means I'm not letting anybody work on my book unless they know what they're doing, or excuse me, thank you. When you got a lot of Virgo, you're going to do it right. You're going to have the T's crossed, the I's dotted, and the small J's. They're going to be dotted too. Everything's going to be hunky-dory, lined up right. That doesn't fit with Aries. That doesn't fit with Aquarius. That fits with all that Virgo. And what that Virgo is about is, Virgo is so misunderstood. Virgo is so much about, I care so much. I care so much, I want it done, that thank you, I'll do it myself. I'll just do it myself, that way it'll be done right. And I'm not trying to be a snob about it. What's that make sense to you, Mark?
Yeah, it fits with all my natural tendencies, for sure.
Okay. Very good. Now, I want to point out a couple of things Hey, Waldo. Let me take a look here. We see Saturn has been going back and forth over the Mercury recently, and Pluto is just about to hit the midheaven. There's your launch story. Pluto in your lifetime has been going since Leo all the way here. Pluto's now at 21. So when do you think it's going to happen? It's going to happen within the next year. Because with Pluto at the top of your chart, it's time to go. Now, my other story, I could bring up your 12th harmonic and we would see what kind of karmic solution this is causing, but that's for another evening. Does this make sense to you?
Sure, sure.
Okay, well, you're right on track, and I want to add to this. And Elke, those of you listening here doing a lot of charts, you cannot erase that you just saw 3 Virgo planets. Virgos teach people how to fish. They can't stand fishing for somebody. They teach people how to fish. So I can guarantee you, Mark, you're going to have an uplifting, inspiring, eye-opening, which is all that Uranus, but you're going to be Virgoing about it. You're going to be teaching people, look, there's so much going on, I don't have time to baby you, so I'm going to teach you to fish. Now go fish and go forward and teach other people how to fish. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now that shows you how a harmonic chart can work. All right, you notice we did very little in the basic chart. We didn't even take a peek at the 12th harmonic. Now I'm going to go to my next.
Thank you, Rick.
You are welcome. I'm my next queen for a day. And Marilyn's not here, is she? Okay, all right. She's not here.
No, she is.
Is she? Where's Marilyn?
Below me on my screen. There she
where,
is.
Where were you, Marilyn? Let me unmute you. I didn't see you on mine. Hello?
I'm chopping up some zucchini.
The perfect answer by Marilyn. Would you like me to look at your 6th?
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry I didn't see you. I looked at everybody. Okay, I've got your chart ready to go. Let's take a look at Marilyn's chart. Marilyn, thank you for saying that, Elke. Where is Marilyn?
Hey,
So,
I
okay.
love your pictures on Facebook. They're lovely.
Okay, let's take a moment and just generally take a look at Marilyn's natal charts. Marilyn is a Scorpio. She's past the age of 51. Oh, let me go back in time a moment and stop. Let me unmute you, Mark, just to show people. Let me do this again. Watch this. I'll get right back to you. Mark, your Chiron, okay, your Chiron has been in Aquarius, in the 7th house, out by itself. And I told you, Chiron and Aquarius, their wound is usually whatever I did, I was never recognized for the individual that I am. Now, that can be doubly painful if you're in Aries, because Aries is always already about getting noticed for the individual. Did you, in general, have that issue your first 50 years?
Yes.
Okay. What happened around 2008 when Chiron returned? Chiron returned around 2008. What happened to you in that sense?
It was pretty close to changing jobs, so I had a new position that demanded a lot more responsibility, and certainly a lot more spotlight was focused on me.
Okay, so you were seen more?
Yes.
Okay, now what I do want to say to you, in keeping with the thread of Chiron, what I will say to you is you were in fact ready to recognize yourself more than you were those first 51 years. That's the proper way to teach about Chiron. Well, that's a really good thing to see. Thank you, Mark. That was very informative. Okay, Marilyn, here we go, dear. All right. We've got to shift over to Marilyn. Okay. Well, Marilyn has this very concentrated chart with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets all together near that 8th house. This sun is definitely a 9th house sun, 3 planets, 4 planets, very strongly in the 8th house. And when you have a lot of 8th house, it adds to the fact that you're already Scorpionic. So we know she's a digger. Scorpios dig. Who's that behind a curtain? Pay no attention to that man behind a curtain. Well, bullcrap, I'm looking. All right? They want to find out. They want to dig for truth. Now, that's usually the case of they can actually physically be a miner. They can be a psychologist digging for truth. They can be investigative reporters. But there's always this theme that they want to dig past the surface. Now, what happens with Marilyn is Marilyn also has a very powerful Jupiter-Uranus here by 2 degrees. And it's in the sign of Cancer, and it's rather lighthearted. Jupiter-Uranus is like Sag and Aquarius together. So oftentimes Marilyn is seen as light. But behind the scenes, she's digging. And I think they can work very well hand in hand. You know, getting light helps you get through doorways. And when you get to the doorways, more like a badger. Dig, let's see what we find out here. Okay, now, I'm not going to get into why this chart is the way it is, because that is when you compare the birth chart to the 12th harmonic. But let's take a look at her 6th harmonic. Now, I'm going to ask you ahead of time. You also, I would think, okay, you have Chiron in Capricorn. I have that. I have many friends that have it. What I have found with Chiron in Capricorn, I found it to be very different than all the other 11 placements. I have found in my studies and readings, Chiron and Capricorn people are obsessed with the house that it's in. So what this means, to me, is this making sure attitude of Capricorn is manifesting right in the middle of groups and friendships. So I don't know you well enough, but this would tell me that you would have a really incessant need to make sure your friends are good, make sure they're in good shape. Does that make sense?
I have a lot of acquaintances right now, and since my divorce, a lot of the old friends are gone, but I have new friends that are quite intimate, and we're online. So there's like a smorgasbord of friendships. It's more broad.
Okay, so what I want to do to try to narrow the focus of this down is ask you what happened at age 51. And usually it's a crisis that can quickly turn into positive. So we're looking at 2005. Around 2005, what happened?
That was a tumultuous year.
Yeah, but why in general?
Our house was 10 years old, and the front porch cracked and fell away from the house by 3 inches. And not only that, but we had to do some major renovations because it was getting to the point to where the faucets were breaking. You know, we needed a lot of painting. And so we took on the project, my husband and I, at the time, we took on the project of doing our own renovations ourselves and being our own contractor. And right in the middle of that house renovation, he found out he had prostate cancer.
Now, I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm going to tell you something. This has nothing to do with your house. It looked that way. The crisis, what is the crisis in Capricorn?
It was the foundation that our marriage
Well,
was built on.
it can be the foundation. Yeah, that's a real good possibility.
It was the platform that we were standing on as a couple.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. But what I want to ask you is, after that 51st year passed and he was sick, what I'm looking for is what happened to you, not your house. What happened to you as far as how you deal with the world?
I got distracted by the house. The house became my touchstone and my security, and we lost it.
Yeah.
Eventually, we lost the house. 3
Okay.
years later, we lost the house.
That makes total sense to me. Why? Because the planets were trying to teach you that a physical thing cannot be your resting spot. It's got to be
Home has got to be within.
That's exactly right. And the fact that you're learning it years later, whatever, that's a beautiful story. I'm very sorry you had to go through such pain, and I'm going through something similar with my house. Let me go into your sixth harmonic now. It's really interesting. Don't you see what I'm trying to tell all you different versions of astrologers? You'll learn so much by asking people what happened when this planet hit you.
Now, what planet?
Something that already happened. You'll learn so much by doing that.
That was Chiron we were talking about, right?
That was your Chiron return. Yes. Now let's look at your sixth harmonic. Okay, here is the, I didn't even do it yet. Let me get myself ready here. I got to get all these ducks in a row. Susan Ferguson, you stay awake with me now. You always look so relaxed. I don't know what to do with myself.
You know, that Virgo moon that I have in my natal chart really amped up my desire to have a lovely home, an updated home, an attractive home. And by the way, I designed my home. When we built it in 1995, I was the designer of the floor plan.
Okay, now, Marilyn, this is your sixth harmonic. Now, what do we see that's remarkable? The two heavyweights right at the midheaven. We're not going to go far with this yet. Don't jump on a chart and try to get all the answers, because all you're going to do is fail and feel stupid. Start drawing in pencil. But that blew me away first thing I saw.
Yeah, that's a spiritual transformation.
Virgo at the top. So we know that. We know that the law is being required of her. What is it opposite? Sun and Uranus. Woo! Huh? We see that your destiny is big time. I mean, this is not simple. We see the Chiron down in Aquarius next to the moon. We see a grand trine Mercury, Mars, and Jupiter, which is kind of nice. But frankly, this is so powerful. All you need to focus on is these two and these two. What does this tell you? This is very difficult to translate. This is saying that my destiny is calling me forth to be of such tremendous service to the whole world. At the same time, I'm trying to stay alive and lively with my family and have a healthy sense of self. And that's a hard thing to balance. A strong sense of self and great obligation to the outer world. What does that mean to you?
Well, I'm dumbfounded. It is powerful, and I'm noticing that's a lot of Pisces down there in the fourth house.
Yes, it is.
That's a lot of water. We got more Scorpio in the 12th house as well.
What I'm sensing, and I'm going to do your 12th harmonic for a reason. What I'm sensing is this. The typical, each sign's hang up is usually the same for all of the people of that sign. It's just the way the zodiac is. The trouble with Scorpios is they get over dedicated.
They get too mental.
I'm not going to talk about Rick or Rick's desires, but I'm talking about in general what happens. They promise and they just can't deliver because they've promised so many moons. So let's go into the 12th harmonic and see where this could be coming. Because what's happening here is the 6th harmonic might be delayed somewhat until more of that 12th harmonic is put to bed. So let's go into your chart. Let's go into Marilyn, and let's go look up her 12th harmonic. And it's going to multiply everything by 12. Oh, I hit the wrong button. All right, harmonic. 1, 2. Okay, here's your 12th harmonic. All right, so let me repaint the screen. So what I'm trying to say to you, here comes. What I'm trying to say to you is, first of all, I think that your 6th harmonic is so unbelievably heavy that I don't know how you're going to manifest it in its entirety because it's so demanding. It's got Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus. The 3 biggies right there. Now, to get a clue at what that means, let's go back to your past life history and see how it informs your birth chart. What has your history been like? And I'm not even looking at it, and I can guarantee you there's got to be this repetitive theme of being overly dedicated. And I'm not being judgmental, I'm just saying it's dedicated so much that you just can't do it.
Depends on how that dedication is expressed.
Well, it depends on a whole lot of things. Let's take a look at this 12th harmonic. Look at what you did in the 7th house. Sun, Pluto, Neptune, Uranus.
Dang.
Same 4 planets, the same 4 planets that were up and down on the 6th harmonic. So here you are again as a counselor, clearly a counselor, but I'll tell you what this tells me? You wanted all the other counselors in the world to go away. You wanted everybody in line just for you. You were going to solve every damn one of them, and you weren't going to stop for lunch. That's what this looks like.
Oh, you got that 1 degree there on the.
Look, it's all square to Venus. It's all square to Venus and Mars and Scorpio. So it's not the point of whether you should have done this. The point is when you sat with your spirit guides in between lives and you examined your spiritual history transcript, which is what this is, you said to yourself, well, in my next lifetime in 1954, whatever it is, I'm going to have these certain kind of tests to help me out of this because you're putting so much pressure on yourself. So because of all this, we now go look at your
I think the 7th house representation there is very informative because I think it's about my relationship with my God self or with my soul. It's more about my relationship with myself.
I don't see that with the 7th house.
Yeah, and it's like the most important relationship of all.
Well, then why would it be in the 7th house?
Because it's the house of relationships.
Well, I don't think there's a match there.
If I'm not connecting beyond 3D, and if I'm not connecting on a higher domain or a higher dimensional level, then I'm not whole. And that's why
I'm not getting this translation. Now let me follow up here. What I'm seeing for you is your past life. There was such demand on you to be so effective as a counselor with other people that in this lifetime you put a lot of emphasis on the 8th house, which means you want to do a lot more deep study, deep research, deep research.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And what I'm saying to you is most people cannot get the sixth harmonic to launch until they get some of these things settled. Now, what would settle some of this? First of all, Jupiter's sitting right here now. Jupiter's solving some of this right now. Pluto's sitting where? Pluto is about to hit the Chiron and hit this whole axis.
Wow.
It's really big. So over the next couple of years, Pluto is going to hit this whole axis, and this entire axis has just been hugely activated by Uranus. Remember, Uranus was discovered when Eris was discovered 5 years ago. It was found at the 24th degree of Aries with Uranus. So the whole zodiac lit up at the 24th degree, opposite that Neptune, squared all these planets. So that's why ever since Eris has come about, it's been phenomenal for you because it's really starting to get you free of this birth chart. That's why this whole end of the patriarchy and the rebirth of the feminine should be massively important to you now.
Yeah. Now, what about the eclipse point that we had last August? Is that going to be triggered again?
Which point was that?
The Leo eclipse.
28 degrees, 27?
I want to say it was 26, wasn't it, Elkie?
Well, very good, even here. Well, yeah, near your Pluto, sure, that was a big deal. Sure. But the main thing is this, to find Eris, for Eris to come into existence next to Uranus, both right here, forming a grand cross with Neptune, with Jupiter, Uranus, and here, everything in your life was waiting for that. And when Eris got coined, that was a big deal for you. So all I can say to you is, your chart is big. It's big, big, big dimensions. I would never try to attack your chart in one reading. I would try to work with you a little bit, give you some leash, give you some string, go out for a while. Let me hear from you back in a couple months. Because you're so big with so much potential that nobody can put their eye on what it's going to do.
I think my butt is writing checks it can't cash.
You what?
I think my heart is writing checks that my butt can't cash.
Well, what I really like about this, and I think that it's symbolic that you found this show, I think that you're so big and you've unleashed so much of yourself. I think what's happened till now is you've now got your elbows free. You've now got the chains off. You're ready to work. But 5 years from now, you're going to be unrecognizable compared to now because you will have done the work. But that's what I see. But it's a very hard chart to read because there's just so much power there. Okay?
Well, I sure would like to enjoy the next 7 years instead of being...
There's every reason you can. Hi, Chuck. There's every reason you can. Okay, I'm going to move on. Marilyn, thank you. Thank you very much and good luck. Okay, I'm going to pull another name out of the hat. And as we welcome Chuck and Teresa, and I can see hands waving. Susan's waving her hands in California, which means she doesn't want to be read for, right? Huh? I can't tell. You got yourself muted. She doesn't want to read. Okay, Nika's not here, is she?
I only got like 4 hours of sleep last night, so that's why I'm laying down.
That's nothing new. You're always running on empty.
I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
I'm not going to try to use reason with you. Never mind. What else I got here? Ray's not here either, is she? Oh boy.
Let's see if you can a picture there.
We're doing our little fish pond. Throw your little rope over top with the clothespin on it. And I'll pin a little bag to it. Susan Ferguson.
Yay!
Like that.
That'll wake me up.
That'll wake you up. Okay, let's go into Susan here. How's Chuck and Teresa? How's your mom?
It's my mother, yeah.
Hello, Mom.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to see you, dear.
Yeah.
Chuck told me a lot about you. You're on Facebook. You're on YouTube right now.
Mhm.
What?
YouTube. It's a
Oh,
social media video
Okay.
connection type thing. Yep.
okay.
Susan, Chuck, what we're doing is, since we've had so many people, I'm going to a lottery system to figure out who to read for, because we just have so many folks. Okay, I'm going to share the screen with you now, and we're going to look at, I can't even keep all my windows straight. Okay, Susan's chart. Okay, remember, Susan is the Virgo with 4 planets in Virgo. She has the moon in Cancer up at the top. Her Chiron is in Aquarius too. And what that does, I told you Chiron in Aquarius is symbolic of your whole sub-generation feeling like you're not recognized as individuals. Usually that's the way Virgos prefer it though. We see artistic ability. We see the charts moving along pretty smoothly. And we have a T-square to Neptune and Venus. So she's a romantic. She's an artist. She has great artistic desires. Her sun is in the 12th house. So she has a strong desire to serve God, but I don't know how yet. So I'll go over here. I'll take her chart. I'll do the harmonics. And I'll put up number 6. And here is her 6th harmonic. Okay. Remember, Susan, this is your destiny chart. Okay.
All right.
Now, I want to ask you, since we know your Chiron was in Aquarius, and the part of Chiron that's your wounded healer represented not being seen as the individual you are, went through its turning point at age 51. So we're talking 2008. So what happened to you when Chiron returned?
Well, I had a really bad breakup, and then I was just sick and tired of being in the beauty industry. Now I'm pretty much out of it.
Okay, now I want to ask you now, and we don't need many details, but in your breakup, did your breakup have to do with you didn't feel that you were getting enough attention, enough respect for yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And see what I'm talking about, the Chiron's very personal. And that
Yes.
Chiron caused you to be ready to say, I'm not dealing with this anymore. You people would love my job. You wouldn't believe how many people I have sit with me and they're just fed up. They come to me at that time when they're ready. They're ready. And it's exciting to watch it. And I just send them home with a can of gasoline. Okay, Susan, here's your 6th harmonic. Melody, don't shake your head at me. All right, now let's take a look at her 6th harmonic. Someday I'm going to have you do the show, Melody, then you'll see. Then you'll see. Okay, here's her 6th harmonic. All right, so since 2008, 11 years ago, you decided you're going to be yourself. You're not going to put yourself in relationships where you're not getting the respect. What is the 6th harmonic? You're going to go forward with your hopes and wishes. You're going to go forward with your group dreams. Very strong because you got a T-square. You got 3 planets. You got 3 bodies over here. Well, 5. 5 planets all going to Mars and to Mercury, Mars and the Sun in Pisces. Pisces. Now, let me take a look and see here. We've got 10 Taurus coming in here. Okay, so Now, the thing that's unusual about this chart is this. Usually when Virgos go forward, Virgos are not group people. Virgos are wonderful team players. They're usually behind the scenes. They like it that way. Your chart's not. Your chart is 11th house, 11th house, 11th house. So that means I'm not just going forward, I'm taking a bunch of people with me, or a bunch of people are asking me to be out front. They're asking me to lead the crowd. But this is group activity. What do you got to say about that?
I agree with you.
Tell me what
I
that
don't know
means.
how or when it's going to happen, but I know it is.
Well, that's the question you don't let Virgos ask.
Why?
All Virgos want to know how. You tell them all, no how policy. No.
I know it will, but I just don't know when.
I'm going to tell you right here. Look up here. Look up here. See him up there?
Yes.
All right. He's the one that'll tell you how. I don't know.
Is he purple?
No, he's bronze.
Is he purple?
He's bronze, dear.
No, but I mean, if you saw him, is he purple?
Oh, I think there's been a lot said about him being in a purple swath of light, yes.
All right, because there was a big purple, whatever, I don't know what it was, in my bedroom the other night.
Well, he's known for showing up as a huge purple angel, yes.
Yeah, that was, yes, it was, it didn't scare me. I mean, I don't get scared about stuff like that anyway.
Okay. What I'm getting at now is, if and when your 12th harmonic gets satisfied, which means you sawed through the chains from the past life that are holding you back, because I have learned most people are not being held back by their parents or their friends in this lifetime. Somewhat. It's mostly past life stuff and karma that holds us down. When you saw through it, quickly that sixth harmonic comes to life. And your sixth harmonic is very clear because Virgos, I told you, want to teach people to fish. I'm not fishing for you. I'll teach you to fish. Well, yours is different. Yours is let's make a whole damn school of people teaching people to fish. It's a whole group of people. So what does that mean to you?
Well, it could be the group of people I work with now. We've had to do training for the past 2 days, and I was sitting in there, and I'm like, maybe I'm supposed to be teaching these people something. That came to me today.
Okay, I want to pull out. I want to do something with you. I want to get your zoom lens, and I want you to zoom out, 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 out. Okay? And we are now in the land. I am in the land. I am your chaperone. It is just you. We are in the land of total freedom, and no one in this land knows what the word should means. Okay? What do you want to do? What is your big dream?
Teaching kids how to paint. That's my first thing that comes to mind.
That's your ultimate joy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, since you started to solve your problem in 2008, have you found in the past 11 years more, or 10 years, more of an opportunity to teach these kids?
Yeah, well, I haven't, yes.
Is it the way you want it?
No, it's not.
Okay, what is lacking?
I'm not sure. Maybe it's my fear, or maybe I'm using it as a monetary. Like I don't have the money to do it.
That'll stop you. That'll stop you. And God's going to say, let me get money here, let me get money here, get money here, but that Susan thing, I'm not going to give her any. So let's get money over here, money over here. Do you think he's going to give you money?
Yes.
Thanks.
When, I don't know, but yes. It always comes. It always comes to me.
Sure it does. So it's a faith issue.
Right. Yes, it
So
is. Absolutely.
what does this mean for you tonight? To get drawn out of a hat and exposed on the screen, and your chart shows very simply that that's exactly what you should be doing.
How does it make me feel?
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right. I want to talk a little bit about this. Thank you. Now, I want to go back in time a bit here. All right. I did a lot of workshops when I first got to Pittsburgh in 03, and a lot of them were not well attended, although I thought the workshops were very good. And the reason why was because people just didn't understand what astrology is. And they thought it was that stuff in the newspaper. And then one day, bingo, I found that if I started talking about life direction and free mini chart, oh boy, we got bounded with people. So what I learned is this, and I may have told some of you this. Through the years, it's very tough being an astrologer, handling complicated questions that people want an answer right away that they like. I used to mistakenly believe, here we are with Susan, that Virgo, that I needed to give her a Virgo answer when she said, what should I be? Oh, you should be a carpenter. You should be a nurse. You should be an office manager. Those are very Virgoan things. I've learned very quickly and got a lot of egg on my face these past several years. That's not the answer. The answer is you should do what's opposite your trauma. You need to do what's opposite your trauma. And in almost every case I've seen, when you click into doing, in other words, you have trauma, you spend the rest of your life trying to solve that trauma, and then you project it out into the world, helping other people so they don't have that trauma. That's what you're here to do. I can only say to you, that's what I've seen black and white. And the traumas are found. Let me see if I can show you again. Traumas are hard to find. Traumas are found by solar arc directions. What is a solar arc direction? A solar arc direction is usually in this area or this area. These two areas represent the early years of life. The early years of life in this area, or this is the home, this area here. Since nothing is here, I don't look at it. And since a solar arc means move each planet 1 degree per year of life, I'm not worried about Jupiter. I'm definitely looking at Mars. So we see Mars taking 4 degrees till it gets to the ascendant. The ascendant's at 4. So we see a male issue because Mars is involved. We see a trauma with a male at age 8. Now, you don't have to explain what exactly happened, but does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, now we don't need to talk about it, but what I'm saying to you, whatever happened with that male, could be anything from A to Z, that becomes fodder for a lot of what you're really fueled to do. If that did not come, we would look up here. Now, I bypassed Jupiter because Jupiter doesn't usually bring crisis, and the sun usually doesn't bring crisis. But here's another one that you had at age 8. What was the first one? Was at 8, right? The second one was at age 7. So this thing started at 7 and 8. And what I see here is age 7, this person invaded the family. At age 8 was the abuse. This person came into the family at 7. The abuse was at age 8. Now,
all right. Yes. I know exactly who it is. They just came to my mind. I know exactly who it is.
Now, if you want to read Noel Tyl, Noeltyl, Noel Tyl, he is a former opera singer. He's one of the best astrologers in the world. He is an expert. He is an expert on solar arc directions. He will sit down and have a list and tell you what everything you did throughout your whole life. But he doesn't what I do. Do what I do, and I try to talk about what's your story. He talks about what happened. That's how I knew. So what I do with people is I go through their traumas, and oftentimes their trauma, in other words, you teaching little girls art is one thing, but if you thought about the kind of trauma you had at age 7 and 8, healing that for other people would also be another good choice for your destiny.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to move on to our final person.
Thank you, Rick.
You are welcome. And John Stigall. That ain't fair. That ain't fair at all. How'd you get in here?
I don't know. You don't have to put me on, Rick. We're supposed to, Naldi and I are supposed to meet up with you anyway. Another week.
Nah, you're in my list and you're on next. You have one other choice.
Yeah, fair enough.
You have another choice. I'll stop and you do yourself. Now let's stop for a minute. I'll get into it. Are you guys seeing the idea? Are you guys getting the idea? And I'm debating with one of the top guys in the world, on harmonics, and he says you cannot use this way. And I'm saying, no, I can use it this way. And it does work. And you know me, if it doesn't work, I don't use it. And you'll see evidence after evidence after evidence. Now, the harmonics. The second harmonic is about money and values. I hardly ever use it. The third harmonic, it's about writing the mind. Sometimes I use the third harmonic to see what you're going to write about. The fourth harmonic, seldom, but I use it now and then. Notice 4 is like Cancer. Sometimes I use the fourth harmonic if I want to examine what's really going on with that person emotionally. The fifth harmonic, I don't use much, but I have seen nice things. This is Leo. I've seen nice things it says about a person's expression. The sixth harmonic, as you know, is my second favorite one. I use it very heavily for the destiny. I told you I don't use the even number. I don't use the odd numbers. It just happens that way. I use the seventh harmonic now and then if I suspect something's going on with the way this person has a relationship. The eighth harmonic, I definitely use. I use it for people abusing their power. I use it for people who are abusing power itself and for people who are passive aggressive. If you see danger in the eighth harmonic, you should be very alert to it. I've been told by other people that the ninth harmonic is the most important one of all, and I don't agree. And I've done lots of them, and I don't see it. The 10th harmonic, the Capricorn harmonic, I use it now and then when I see people fall from grace. Humpty Dumpty harmonic. When you're falling from the wall and you're going to splatter on the street, that's the 10th harmonic. The 11th I don't use much, but sometimes I see issues with friends happening there. And of course the 12th harmonic I use more than anything. So let's go into Mr. John. Instead of me trying to get everybody read for, which is a real relief tonight. John's another Taurus. John is an unusual Taurus in the sense that his Mercury-Pluto is so strong. 15, 15, 15, 15. So the Mercury-Pluto is really, really strong, which is a past life sense of you're not smart. You're never going to be smart. What's wrong with your brain? It's something like that from the past life. We don't know where it comes from. Could be from his church, from his dad. Who knows? But it's a mental challenge. because we know he is smart. And that T-square goes over to the moon. So we know the moon is very strong in this chart. And that's what makes John so Cancerian, tender, caring, loving. Nice chart, everything spread out. Got some strong Leo energy here. He's got Mars in Leo at the tip of another T-square. Here's the sun opposite Uranus with the T-square to Mars. So we see John has an awful lot of ability. It would be very difficult to look at this chart and pull out what his destiny is. Let's go look at the sixth harmonic. I don't think you and I have looked at this very often.
Yeah, sometimes.
I
Not really, but
can't recall.
maybe about a year ago, I think.
Yeah, I look at so much I can't recall. Harmonics, 6.
You thought it's kind of close to waking up with me if it hasn't already begun. You did say
Oh.
that.
Okay, now let's talk about your 51st birthday, which will be
11 years from now.
29. Okay. Now, as I've said, I've watched a lot of people never wake up, and I've watched a lot of people wake up in their 30s. You can tell then when that sixth harmonic is lit up and working or not. Let's take a look. I think yours has not come to life yet, but I think it's very close because I've been talking with you this. Now look how powerful this is. Here's your 4 angles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 major planets right along the angles. You got this.
I
Yeah,
can see the mini version of it in Solar Fire. Rick
I'm
making-
sorry.
Yeah, I saw Melody shaking her head too, so I think she's.
That's what I needed to hear. Okay, you got 4 angles. You got Uranus, Mercury, Pluto. You got Venus down here. You got a new moon up here, same degree, within 2 hours. And Chiron. So we see the 11th house is really important for you. But the main thing about your 6th harmonic is Uranus, this here, Venus. So your 6th harmonic is about Venusing people. Venusing people. Being nice to people, teaching people to be polite, etc. So what I would do here, without a doubt, I would pause. And I would go back to your birth chart. And I would start looking for solar arcs. Okay, we don't see anything happening in his early life here. What I'm saying, once again, you move a planet 1 degree per year of life, and you wait till it runs into something else. Like, for instance, Mars ran into Saturn at age 17 degrees. You move it 1 degree till it hits it. The moon ran into the descendant. I think that's very important. And that moon ran into the descendant. This is like 7, around age 8. So what I think happened at age 8, since your moon ran into your descendant, is you realize at age 8 that these relationships that you have with people affect your feelings. So that's a tender age anyway, at age 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But I think it was a very big emotional turning point at age 8. It could have been a trauma, I don't know. Here's a much bigger one, and this happened later. This 24 to 14 is age 20. This advances 1 degree till it hits Pluto around age 20. So you going out into the world was no picnic at age 20. It was very threatening.
All that seems consistent with my
That makes
experience.
sense?
And all that seems consistent with my experience, Rick.
Okay, all right. And we see here 18, 12. By age 19, Neptune hits the moon. So age 19, you move out and you're living someplace and you're really unsure where you're living. It doesn't make sense. And you really feel out of place. And the Neptune hitting the moon. The Neptune hitting the moon, you feel out of place and uncertain where you're going. That would have been pretty traumatic at age 19. Other than that, I don't see really a lot of happening. Now, let's go back to your sixth harmonic. How do you think this chart represents your destiny?
I'm looking at that Sun and Moon conjunction in the 11th house. Plus Chiron being there. Opposition from Mars. Uranus on my ascendant. Like, very, like, focused Uranian chart. I mean, just intense is what comes to mind. Very, very intense, very, very focused.
The question is, what's this Venus doing here?
Nice.
What is this Venus doing here?
Like Mr. Rogers. Who was an Aries, by the way.
Very good point, yes.
Like a radical Mr. Rogers, who was very radical. Actually, just prior to Unplugged, I was reading an article about Mr. Rogers, how he was just like, everybody thinks about him as this nice guy, which he was, but he was also like very, very like, aggressively determined to defend children, stand up for children. The children needed respect, just advocate for their needs and everything. Like,
well, I think that makes a lot of sense, and that encourages me to take your chart and get your 12th harmonic up, even though we're running out of time. This will be the last chart that we look at. John's chart, let's look at your past life history. And here's the 12th. Okay, here's the 12th harmonic. Okay, so this is where John spent most of his past lives before he took this lifetime. Okay? Remember, this is most your history of what you did lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And to look at him as a Uranian Mr. Rogers is a really pretty good way of putting it. So what did you do all these lifetimes? My God, what kind of teaching did you do? Huh? You could teach about anything. This is the teacher's house, the 9th house, the philosophy. This guy went to 6,000 different colleges. Look at this. I mean, he just was everywhere, learning everything.
That hasn't changed, actually.
Look, the Venus is important again. So what does this tell you?
Well, I'm doing what I always have done, apparently. I mean, I'm still teaching. I'm teaching in this lifetime. Still learning.
Yeah, but that's not really what I'm asking. We're really getting close here, but let's get down to the gritty nitty. What do you want to do? What effect do you want to make on people?
To transform education, make it matter, make it relevant. It's not about state standards and all this other crap, all this federal garbage. You see Melody giving me the thumbs up. No, it's true. It's authentic. It's holistic. That's what it needs to be. That's what it gets to be. That's what it's all about. That's what I want to advocate for.
Who did that for you?
The shift.
As a young child, who really influenced you and showed you that it made your education valuable?
My high school social studies teacher, Mr. Stusher. He was the one that really inspired me. And I had a few elementary teachers too. Mrs. Morton, she was another one. She encouraged me to read, and she thought they actually accelerated me to the next level, pretty much because I was such a good reader, and she wanted me to continue to read and go in that direction. So I had a few teachers who supported me. I had others who tried to knock me down.
But as we see in that chart, the overwhelming theme of all those charts is Venus, which is unusual. You want to do all this in a Venusian way. That means with tact, you Libras listening, you want to do it with tact and with respect and land on your feet and kind of be upbeat about it, which aren't really common words in today's America.
No. But they
Well,
get
I think all of you have gotten a good look at how the harmonics can work. Usually in a reading, it takes me about 50 minutes to, it takes me about 40 minutes to figure out what's your story. And after about 50 minutes, I usually have an outlook on your destiny. And in there somewhere, I'm looking closely for, I spend a lot of time. 12th harmonic first, 12th harmonic natal. What are you doing? Why'd you come here? Are you getting free of it? What are your events? And I look for transits hitting that 12th harmonic, which these people tell me don't work. It does work. Transits hit that 12th harmonic, things happen. You know yourself, you're walking along one day and all of a sudden something happens and it's just like so karmic. You can't put 2 and 2 on it. It's just like somebody drew it up on some script somewhere long ago. You know, you can feel it. That's a planet hitting your 12th harmonic. So anyhow, I wanted to show you that to you tonight, and I hope you enjoyed it. I do want to mention to you and all the YouTubers out there 2 things here. You YouTubers, if you want to join us live on Thursdays, this is where you go. And I wanted to mention that the 7th day of July, 7th day of July, is that right? The 7th day of July will be, let me double check on that. I just don't want to say this incorrectly. 12th. I'm glad I did that. On the 12th of July, our guest will be the Reverend Todd Foster out of Pittsburgh, who is just marvelous. And Todd is about to go big time with many internet efforts. Todd is an expert at clearing houses, clearing you, working very detailed with the pendulum to just about sense about anything. He has been a long time teacher of Reiki, so he's a Reiki master. He'll be answering your questions about anything like that, about the Reiki, about possession, about entities hooking on to you, getting detached from them. He works a lot with St. Michael. I'm not really talking about exorcism. Forget that out of your mind. But he's a good one. He's a Virgo. He's a straight shooter. He's a hard worker. He will be the 12th of July. So I will see you next week for everybody. Thanks for attending tonight. And this will be up tomorrow on my YouTube channel. Thanks. Good night.
Thanks, Rick. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.